Welcome, healthy friends, to the Reality of Health podcast. Today we're talking about pet health, part 2. This is why your dog or cat or animal gets sick and how you can help that situation. Let's get right into it. Your animal is either a carnivore, herbivore, or omnivore. Carnivore eats only animal stuff. Herbivores eat only plants. And omnivores eat, well, everything. Have you ever seen any animal in the entire animal kingdom ever cook their food? You ever seen in the entire animal kingdom an animal open a bag or open a can of food? You ever seen a dog run into a cornfield and maul that corn cob and eat so many he passes out like a lion after a feast on a water buffalo? Nope, you've never seen that. You ever seen a cow kill a chicken and eat it? Have you ever seen out in nature a pet restaurant? Well, that would be the same thing as your dinner table. Unless you're eating a raw food diet, you should not be giving those scraps to your dog or cat. I know it makes you feel good and you give them a little treat from something you're eating, but that adds up to poor health. Let's start with, should you even have a conventional veterinarian in the first place? Or should you have a holistic veterinarian? Obviously, you know what I'm going to say. Conventional are going to be anti-raw food diet. Even some holistic vets might be as well. My suggestion is find a holistic veterinarian who believes in a raw food diet consistent with the animal that you have as a pet. That is a species-specific diet. Here's the issue. Veterinary medicine has some of the worst performing medicines in all of the healing world. We all think my veterinarian loves my animal and they must be a veterinarian because they love animals. That may have been true when they wanted to become a veterinarian. Then when they do, they realize the day after day monotonous task of trying to heal all day, every day, pain and suffering, it takes a toll on you. And then the money starts coming in from all the pharmaceutical drugs that they can administer, like the anti-parasitical yearly garbage that they feed your animal. Your pet only has parasites because it's eating garbage food, so it needs the parasites to help digest and get rid of all the toxins and the garbage from the garbage food. Veterinary medicine is extremely lucrative. From surgeries to drugs to cancer therapies and diabetes and arthritis and all that stuff goes on and on and on. The powers that be say you should feed your pets canned food or kibble because they're safer from bacteria and they're properly designed for the right nutrition for your animal. That couldn't be further from the truth. But Eric, nope, I'm going to stop you right there. It's not. Check this out. Last 10 years, 98% of the recalls for salmonella were from kibble. If you don't know what kibble is, it's the dried food you feed your pets. Salmonella is actually kind of uncommon for cats and dogs. Also, in the last 10 years, they've recalled 327,100,000 pounds of pet food. Let that sink in. 327 million pounds. And out of all that, only 0.6% was from a raw food company. Check this out. Not only was kibble responsible for 98% of bacteria, but raw was only responsible for 1.2% in these recalls. The next largest was excess or insufficient vitamin or mineral content. The canned food was the worst at 92%, and kibble was 7.5%, but guess what? Raw was only 0.009%. That's what you call really good. Did you know they find foreign objects in your pet food? Oh yeah, they find all kinds of stuff. And guess what? Canned food was responsible for 98%. They only found foreign objects in 1.7% of raw products. How about mold? Well, kibble was responsible for 30%. Or how about pentobarbital? Well, that was in canned food at 100%. 0 in raw food. By the way, do you know what that's used for? It's used to euthanize an animal. The question begs, why would that be in there? I think you know why. Guess what the most prevalent source for salmonella poisoning for children is? That would be touching dry dog food. Oh yes, they did a 3-year study on it and figured out that was the case. So it all starts with a species-specific diet, always. First thing to do. Here's what they should eat, but first I will say start it slow, and if they've been on conventional food, there's no hurry. Take it slow, start adding little bits at a time until all that other conventional food is totally gone. I mean, you don't need to take months or anything, it should just only be a couple weeks. Your animal will adjust. Believe me, it will, just like you would. Food should be kept frozen, and then you bring it out of the freezer and put it in the refrigerator about, 24 hours before you're going to give it to them. You just keep doing that cycling. Super simple. Unless you're buying fresh each day, you should probably end up freezing it. So dogs, well, they should have raw meat. And it can be just about any meat, I might add. I just wouldn't do poultry, but I would do venison or elk or goat or anything like that. Those unusual animals you don't really think about. They can eat bones, especially organs, or all that scraps from like when you're making food. They can eat all that stuff. Like when you're trimmings that you wouldn't cook or eat, it's too gristly and tendons and ligament and skin and stuff. They can eat that. They love it. Plus, you can get tons of that type of stuff from the butcher or even the grocery store or online. There's meat and butchering companies that sell all kinds of scraps and organs and stuff for your animal. Very, very inexpensive. You're not buying the cuts that you would eat, but your dog totally loves it. And of course, my favorite thing to give a dog is eggs. Give them the whole egg with the shell, or crack it open and put it on their food, or just put it in a bowl and let them just eat as many eggs as they want. They love raw eggs. You can give them as many as you want. Most dogs will eat the shell, so just put the whole thing in there. Eric, I don't have a dog. I got a cat. Well, it's kind of the same thing with a few different nuances. So they should also be consuming organs. Absolutely organs. Then they can have meat. Just about any meat, whatever they like. They can do things like elk and all that stuff as well. Salmon, for sure, or all fish. Pretty much any fish, but they seem to like the fattier fish. Trout, that kind of thing. But don't do the farm-raised stuff. It's not good for you or them. And yes, you can give them eggs as well, in any way that they'll eat them, or whatever way they want them. You could also do raw dairy. Absolutely raw dairy. But just a quick touch note on the whole meat thing for cats. They do like that gaminess. So goat and elk and anything like venison and, animals like that, whatever you have access to or can get, they'll eat pretty much anything, but they don't really seem to go a lot into the beef world. Maybe they would, some of the organs, but generally speaking, the meat, they like the gamey stuff. You can do fresh poultry. Not the junk you get at the store. Has to be really fresh. Something from somebody you just slaughtered the animal, then they can eat it. Or put in the freezer and they can eat it later. I'm not going to get into all the other types of pets you might have, but I'll just throw this one out there. If you have farm animals, you should not be giving them food that they would not eat in the wild. Just because animals will eat something doesn't mean that they should. Same with you and me. Now, you can give them fermented foods like sauerkraut or yogurt. If your animal can handle any of those, start small amounts and increase a little bit. That is something that you can do. Animals will sometimes eat the stomachs out of whatever their kill is, and there's going to probably be grasses or plants of some kind in there, and they will eat that. Now, as far as adding things into their life for health or to correct a condition, so let's get into some of these. So the first thing that I would add would be MSM. Stands for methyl sulfonyl methane. Pretty cool stuff. It's natural pain reliever, natural anti-inflammatory, and because it's sulfur, it's pro-healing and pro-regenerative. Depending on the size of your animal, let's say you start out with 500 milligrams or like a little less than a quarter teaspoon of powder. Add it to the food every day. for a few days and then start doubling that amount every few days. You'll start to see them getting really good. Their energy is going to change. Everything gets better. Movement, bowels, their skin rashes go away, yeast infections go away. Anything, pretty much anything that they have starts to go away. You can't give too much of it to them. There's no such thing as overdosing on MSM. I've seen crazy healing situations with animals and MSM. Even large animal veterinary medicine, like they do for cows and horses and stuff, they add MSM right away when an animal is sick. They buy it in huge quantities and just start adding it to the feed. So if they have something like joint issues, the MSM will help right away with pain and inflammation. You could also increase things like tendons and ligaments from, fresh, of course, from animals, or like any of the cartilage type cuts of meat. Or even you can get an inexpensive collagen supplement and just add the powder into their food. Like gelatin. Gelatin's cheap. You can buy it anywhere. Buy it online at the store, unflavored, of course. Sprinkle it in their food or actually make them gelatin. Cut those into cubes or whatever shape you want, and that could be used as a treat. Even though it's tasteless, dogs and cats dogs don't care. Cats care about a lot of things. Dogs don't care. They just want to know you gave them something and they'll just eat it down. So why are your dogs and cats sick? Well, first starts with vaccines, then the drugs, then a sedentary lifestyle, probably tons of carbohydrates in their food, because most pet food is just vegetables and carbs and grains and potatoes and things like that they should not be eating. Probably a low amount of sunlight or contact with the earth. They don't get outside enough. They're not laying in the grass and playing in the forest and all that kind of thing. But guess what? The one that you wouldn't think is stress from you and your household. You see, your stress level is mirrored in your animal. They are a direct reflection of what happens in your life. So if you're happy, they're happy. You know how when you get happy and you talk to your dog or cat really happy and makes them happy? That's what they want. If you yell or talk down to a dog, he knows it. So that underlying stress in the household where everybody's stressed out and everybody's mean or there's just a lot of bad things going on, animals know it. That's how they can sense things like diseases in people. They can tell by the EMF frequencies, they can tell by the mood, they can tell in so many ways, plus they absolutely can smell it. Basically what I'm saying is sometimes your animal's health is not even the food and everything else going on. It could be the household or from you. The other big one that nobody thinks about is toxicity in your home. Just like the toxins are not good for you, they're not good for your pet. Clean up those toxins in your home could be actually the solution to your pet's ill health. They're everywhere. Even your dog bed. That's probably made out of plastic because it's polyester and then there's a foam, or inside you've got non-organic materials like polyester, fill and stuff like that. Why not go to like a organic cotton cover or like a wool cover, something natural base with feathers in there, or anything filled inside a shape for a dog bed that is a natural substance. You can do things like buckwheat or rice or any of these kind of things. Now you're not subjecting your pet to tons of plastic emanating from that bed. Never give them tap water. It's just as unhealthy for them as it is for you. And why do we give them dog treats? I mean, when your kid does something good, you don't just pull out of your pocket a wheat biscuit and throw it at your kid, do you? And why are they wheat biscuits? How about something like homemade beef jerky, which is ridiculously easy to make? Or like any other kind of dehydrated animal type food, scraps, whatever. Or how about just no treats? How about that? If your dog has fleas or prone to fleas, you can use what's called diatomaceous earth. It's microscopic organisms from the ocean. Super, super small. Anything that walks or gets near them basically just slices and cuts them, so they die. You can use it around your house for ants or fleas and all kinds of things. So you're going to sprinkle it on the coat, rub it in, mix it in, brush it in, or you could mix it with some water or witch hazel extract, put it in a spritzer, spritz their coat, rub it in, that kind of thing. Totally awesome, completely natural, works fantastic. Just make sure it's food grade. For ticks, there's tons of recipes online that you can mix with witch hazel, like essential oils, that kind of thing, and put it all over the dog, and it helps. You can look those up. Number one issue that most veterinarians see is ear problems. Not a lot of airflow in there for those floppy-eared animals, but I'll tell you, it's from too much carbohydrate and sugar in the diet. Most yeast infections on humans or animals is from too much carbs or sugar. Why would that be, Eric? Well, yeast eat sugar. That's their food. If there's no food, the yeast starve, or they just don't exist. You can also use witch hazel right in their ears, or essential oils, or even apple cider vinegar. Just a few drops, rub it in a few times a day for a week or two. Usually clears up most things. But remember, it's there for a reason. It's to clean out a situation, which is usually poor diet and toxins and such. That's why skin issues and rashes are just toxins coming out of the body, and then you get a reaction on your skin. It's just all part of the same matrix. You're putting garbage in, the garbage has to come out. It's usually not an external thing. Rarely it's external, where you put something on your skin and it caused a rash. When your dog or cat or animal is eating a diet that's species specific, you won't get things like that. Unless there's something actually in the environment or in the water they're drinking, or the brand of food you're buying, or something somehow is incorporating poison into the animal, and the animal has to get it out. I know of one story, there's a dog park, and all the dogs kept getting sick. They all thought the dogs were infecting all the other dogs. It was a mass dog infection thing going on, until they finally looked into it and found out there's a watering hole there, and all the dogs drink from it, and the water had poisons in it because that dog park was built on top of an old chemical facility. See, this is how most things work. It's not you got me sick, or the dog got another dog sick, or the kid came home and got me sick. There's usually something else. You just gotta find it. I digress, let's go back. First, you gotta get it out through the bowels and the urine. And if you can't get it out of there, you're gonna push it out through your skin or your eyes or your ears. So usually you can clear up just about any skin problem that they have with just the diet change and getting rid of stuff in their life that they shouldn't be dealing with. If your animal has a chronic issue and you've changed that diet, done all these other things, and it's still not going away, it's probably from getting vaccines. Animals do not need vaccines whatsoever, just like humans. They build up and can cause issues either right away or more likely later on in life. They get all kinds of diseases. Number one reason why dogs get cancer is because of the vaccines. Second reason is a carbohydrate-rich diet, a non-specific diet to their species. Third reason is any of the pharmaceutical drugs that conventional docs give to your pets. They won't need those drugs and stuff if they're on their specific diet. That's why there's parasites. They're there to clean up dead and dying tissue or heavy metals or poisons because they're not on their proper diet. One of the best things you can do for your pets is to take them to a pet chiropractor every so often. Yes, they do exist, and they actually are miracle workers. The other thing you can do is acupuncture. If you remember, I've said in part 1, animals and children respond really well to just about any modality, better than actually people that are older. And of course, for a fat animal, it's 100% due to the diet. Has nothing to do with how much activity the pet gets. Movement for your animal is good, but doesn't have anything to do with their weight. If you want to fatten up a cow for slaughter, you feed it grains. If you want to fatten up your dog or cat, feed it grains and vegetables and all kinds of that carbohydrate and sugar stuff. Many of those treats are loaded with sugar. Go to a species-specific diet and they'll lose weight, just like that. That's it for today. Please consider following or subscribing and liking and all that other stuff. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves. I'm out.